Joseph Finder or Finder in Israel. L'chaim. First of all, L'chaim.
L'chaim?
How is your Hebrew, by the way?
It once was good, long time ago.
Oh, yeah?
Now it's not so good.
Yeah, you catch some words
Right.
from your bar mitzvah.
Yeah, exactly.
How are you feeling? How are you?
Parashah. Yeah.
Oh, the parasha. My brother lives in Nashville, so I always, it's funny to me to hear, let's say, mature people talking about the parasha, the bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
So how are you in these days?
I'm good. Very good. Thank you. Yeah.
Writing a lot?
I'm just starting writing a new book.
Wow. How long ago it was published in the States? The last one?
In January, end of January.
And you already starting the new book.
Yeah. Well, you've got to do that.
Why?
You can't leave too much. I take a break, but not too much of a break.
But why?
I think of writing as being like a muscle that if you don't use it, it atrophies.
Yeah.
So you got to keep doing it.
I was thinking maybe it's something that related, most of the writers, they have these sensors to the world. They're very sensitive. I'm not sensitive like emotional sensitive. I mean, it's like they need the writing to actually hold the reality. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So sometimes maybe those breaks, they're too much. I don't need this break. I need to hold the reality.
Yeah. I don't generally feel that way. But I sort of feel like if I'm not writing, I'm not really enjoying my life fully.
Wow. That's a big quote, it's a big sentence.
Yeah. Well, it's the truth.
Wow. You have, I counted 18 books. Am I right? Or
You're right.
so I think that 11 are being translated, has been translated to Hebrew.
Yeah.
Maybe more. I don't know. How many languages you've been translated to?
I think 25 or 26 languages.
How many languages do you speak?
I speak really only two in reality. I speak English and I speak Russian.
That's great.
I understand a little Hebrew. And when I was very young, we lived in Afghanistan, and
Wow.
my parents were gone a lot, especially during the day, and I was raised by our servants. So before I learned English, I learned Farsi.
So you're talking about how old were you at the time?
Probably from when I was a year old to when I was 4.
Wow. And elementary school?
No. Elementary school, I was in the U.S.
Oh, you already been in, so
Yeah.
So literally the first language that you've learned or you've listened was Farsi.
Yeah. And I think that's what made me interested in writing about international affairs, that I was sort of, you learn a language from another culture, you learn that culture.
Of course.
Right?
Of course.
So I became interested in other cultures.
I think that every language provides you with a toolbox of thinking.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have many toolbox. And so you can, I don't want to say manipulate the language, but you can use it in so many different ways, even though you write in a specific language, but the way you can think, that's for example, in Hebrew, everything that concerns the neshama, the soul, the spirit is very, defined and maybe a little bit, let's say, complete. When you try to translate it to English, something happens with the language. On the other hand, it happened to me. I wanted to translate from English to Hebrew, envy and jealousy.
Yeah.
Headache.
What does that mean? There's no equivalent in Hebrew?
Not exactly, not in a word. not in one word. You have to add some words.
Really?
Yeah. But I want to ask you, Joseph. Yeah, that's crazy. But I want to ask you. You started with let's say your childhood. I
Yeah.
want to go and if it's possible, I want to have an access to your journey as a child. Let's start from where you grew up. How was your childhood?
I was born in Chicago, and we moved to Afghanistan and the Philippines when I was young. My father was a Fulbright scholar, and he was setting up centers for teaching English as a second language. And then we moved back to the U.S., to the state of Washington, Bellingham, Washington.
Just a minute, but you had siblings? You have siblings?
I do have 4 siblings.
Oh, so you weren't alone.
No. 5 kids. 5 kids.
And you're the oldest in between,
I'm second oldest.
second oldest.
I have an older sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were traveling as a child.
Yeah, I traveled a lot. And then we moved to upstate New York, and we settled down and stopped traveling.
Yeah. And you were around around five-ish kind of.
It may be around 6 or 7. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So it's significant. It means that you already, you have a memory from those places.
That's right. That's
Okay.
right.
So elementary school, you're doing in the States, in upstate New York,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a child who reads a lot. You already.
I read a lot, and when I was in 3rd grade, so I was 8 years old, I discovered this book, a novel, sort of a nonfiction, sort of a science fiction book for kids, about 2 boys who build a spaceship and launch into space. And I thought this was so cool, turned my friends onto it. And then I wrote a letter to the author. And in those days, when you write a letter to the author, you send it to the publisher. And it would take months before it got there. So months later, I got a letter back from this author. Her name was Eleanor.
Yeah. Sorry.
Eleanor Cameron.
Okay.
And the letter was sort of a form letter. And I was really disappointed. And
Why?
I found her return address, and I wrote her a letter, and I said, "But you haven't answered my questions." I started asking all these questions about the plot. And I got back a 2-page typed single-spaced letter from this author answering my questions.
That's crazy.
And this was my first realization that behind every novel is a person who makes these decisions.
Yeah.
And I thought this was cool, and I want to do this.
And I just want to understand. You were 12, 11, something like that.
I was as young as 8. Yeah.
8, and you already had questions about the plot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's not a regular thing for 8 years old, to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was because my father told me a story every night before I went to bed. He made stories up.
Very Jewish.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Very Jewish.
Yeah.
So that was when I decided I wanted to be a writer.
When you were 8 years old,
Yeah.
you already thought to yourself, "I'm going to be a writer."
I want to. Yeah, I want to.
I don't think maybe one writer from our guests said something like that. Usually it takes time to even understand that those written words is something that captivate you.
Right. Right. But every writer that I know started out as a reader and at some point said, "This is cool. I want to do it."
Yeah. but not usually a little bit older than 8, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's amazing to me. It's fascinating.
yeah.
So you started to read more, or you already started to play with the writing?
I started to write books when I was really little, when I was 9, 10.
Books. Usually, yeah, but we had a goal.
Yeah, yeah,
Even if those books, it was just a start, and it's, like you said, books. Again, a child who says, "Hey, I'm going to write a book," it's a thing. It's a big thing.
yeah, yeah. And I wrote books that were really for my brothers and sisters. And it was my impulses were a little evil. My youngest brother, Henry, had a phobia of hair. So I wrote a novel about a boy who's trapped in a house made of hair, and read this story to him, and he was horrified by it. He's still traumatized by it. And so, there's the power of the written word, the power of making up stories, which I sort of learned early.
Yeah, it's like the reader gives you an access to his subconscious.
That's right.
This is a big thing, to have a key to someone's, controlling the subconscious, especially.
That's right. That's right. And good writers can really key in to the reader's subconscious.
So as you grow up, you mature a little bit. You went to the IDF. No, I'm joking. And then it's college and everything. You already you realize that you're going to be a writer, that this is your path.
Well, it was more complicated than that, because my parents did not want me to be a writer. They wanted me to I told my grandfather when I sold my first book to a publisher, I said, "Grandfather, I'm a writer." And he said, "Get a real job." So he's a smart guy.
Your parents, they were born in the States?
Yeah, in Chicago.
In Chicago.
Yeah.
And your grandfather also?
He was born in Poland.
Poland.
Yeah.
My grandmother is from Poland.
Was that?
Yeah,
Vilna. Yeah.
Like all of us from all around the world.
That's right. That's right. So when I was, let's say 13 or 14, I started writing books and sending them off to publishers to try to get published. And of course I was rejected, but I got very nice letters from the publishers.
Okay.
And so I decided I wanted to be a writer, and my parents decided I wasn't going to be a writer. And in college, I didn't know what I was going to do later. I just knew that I wanted to write. And my parents told me I should go to law school. And because that's a classic Jewish professional ambition. And my older sister, who had gone to Harvard Law School and was a very smart lawyer, came up to me when I was applying and said, "Don't do this. This is not for you. You are too creative. Don't do it."
I assume that you were close as siblings.
Yeah.
That's a very honest and a very brave thing to say to your younger brother.
That's right. That's right. So, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. And I was given a scholarship to go to the Harvard Russian Research Center because I majored in Russian studies at Yale. And while I was there, I came up with an idea for a book that I wanted to write, but it was nonfiction. That's okay. I wanted to write something.
While you were where? In Russia or in
Harvard?
In Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for a minute I said, okay, maybe he was traveling as a student already.
Yeah. No, I did go to Russia as a student.
No, this is why I'm asking. I said maybe as a student you already visited over there.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And I sold it, and that was my first book. And It was largely about an American billionaire industrialist named Dr. Armand Hammer. And I went to Russia to research his background because he had spent the 1920s in Moscow. And I found out that he had worked for what was later called the KGB. So I did some investigative journalism.
Yeah, but why Russia in general was captivating you? Why it was so, you see this in your books, that the idea of Russia, the Cold War, the KGB, everything, it's captivating you.
Yeah, that's right. I originally got interested in Russia because my older sister had a collection of books on her bookshelf. And one of them was a collection of stories by Nikolai Gogol. One of the stories was called The Nose. And I loved this story, and I read all the rest of the books, the stories by Gogol. And I thought, any culture that could produce this kind of a story, I want to know more about. So I decided I wanted to study Russian.
There's something with Russian literature in general. I have this theory, maybe you can agree with me or not, I have this theory that because they were closed for generations, it created an original way of thinking that influenced the writing in general.
Mm-hmm.
They as a culture, they weren't exposed to for a while, for let's say 30 years, 4 years, exposed to let's say from their sides east, but let's say to the Western culture or Western literature. Mm-hmm. So they kind of created an original way of thinking and writing. That's my view. I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Because the 19th century Russian writers were in many ways quite original and quite powerful. And I love reading Dostoevsky and Tolstoy and Chekhov.
I had a girlfriend when I was in high school. There was an aliyah. You know what's aliyah in Hebrew?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had a huge aliyah from Russia, let's say, USSR, the old USSR, the country. So I had a girlfriend at the time. She was originally from Russia. And I was a fan of Russian literature. And I read it in Hebrew. And she always said, you're missing everything. Reading it in Russian, you're missing all the story. You're missing it.
Well, it's true, but you know how hard it is to translate. You miss a lot of the subtlety. Yeah.
So
it's true.
So you were saying that was it your first book?
Yeah, that was my first book called Red Carpet. And anyway, the Dr. Armand Hammer did not want this story out about his early days working for the KGB. So at first he threatened to sue me and my publishers for libel and scared my publisher.
How old were you?
I was 23, 24. But of course he was never going to sue me for libel because that would just draw all kinds of attention to the book, right? So instead what he did was he had people buy up as many copies of the book as possible to get it off the market. So my first book sold really well.
But actually, it also can help you. I'm not talking financially. I'm talking from, getting the publicity.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Makes a lot of noise, of course.
Yeah. But what was interesting was that when it came to thinking about my next book, I didn't want to write nonfiction. I wanted to write fiction, and I wanted to write a story that would tell the story of Dr. Armand Hammer in full, which I could do in fiction, but not in nonfiction.
Yeah.
So that gave birth to my first novel, The Moscow Club.
The Moscow, it was 1991, right? The first.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's translated to Hebrew also. But what I want to ask you is that why thriller? Why this genre caught you?
Well, when I was in college, I was in a singing group called the Yale Whiffenpoofs, and one member of the group, we were traveling around Europe. One member of the group he had this suitcase full of big, thick, hardcover books, all by Robert Ludlum. And I read Ludlum's The Born Identity and The Born Supremacy and all these other books. And I was so captivated by it. And so was everyone else in this group. And I just thought to myself, if I could do something like this, which would basically capture the attention of people and make them lose time, just want to be immersed in this world, I thought, this is what I want to do. So I decided I wanted to write thrillers.
See, because usually when I ask a writer, what happens to him? What makes him write another book and another book? Does he has to go through some process with himself to have some new ideas about life itself, to feel like he grew up as a human being, as a philosopher, if you want. Usually writers from, let's say, writes in your genre, they write very often. They're not waiting like 5 years from book to book to another book. It's like they write all the time. Also, you have can you elaborate a little bit why, from your perspective?
Why what?
Why in this genre you find the authors writing all the time? They're not stopping for a minute.
Publishers really want to do a book a year. They really feel that thereby you train the audience, the readership, to buy the next Joseph Finder book.
But I'm asking about Joseph Finder as a human being, as an artist. There's something needs to happen for you to create another book.
Yes, and I have taken off time between books longer than that, because I wanted to let the story really develop and let my and sort of my thinking about the book to develop. And I sort of feel like I've been able to write better books every 2 years or so, maybe every 3, than to write a book than every year.
Listen,
The Oligarch's Daughter took me 2.5 years to write.
And that's a long time for you?
Long time. Yeah.
I didn't read all your books, but I read. And I find it very unique that your characters are like ordinary people, or a regular. They're not usually, when you read thrillers or this detective or this special force or whatever, is not, in Hebrew you say echad min hayishur, is not someone that a regular human being.
Mhm.
At least what I read is that your main characters and all the characters are just it can be my neighbor. It can
Yep.
be just another guy that I met in the whatever, in the street.
Right.
Why?
Right. That is what I do, is I write ordinary people who face extraordinary circumstances. And I don't know why that interests me so much, but that's what I do. That's my pattern. That's all my novels are that way.
Have you ever saw your books in Hebrew? Did you see that?
Yeah.
I want to show you. I'm going to show the readers also, because I want to show them how it looks, and in general, we're doing it with Ivrit.
Mhm.
Podcast. Ivrit is the say Israeli kingdom. Amen. And I want to show you. I want to show the audience.
Yeah.
Have you ever saw that? This is Joseph Finder. The ebooks in here.
Ifrit.
Yeah, בעברית. Can you read a little bit? This is the last one.
Yep. Yep.
This one. This is the Oligarch. So all our audience who listens, who see us, those are the books. We have it as an ebook, as an audio book. Go ahead and purchase now. So we go back here to our conversation.
Yeah.
I met at least, I want to tell you a little bit about the genre in Israel. As from my point of view, it took a while for this genre to be Sabra, Israeli. You know what Sabra? Like,
Sabra. Sure.
Sabra. Yeah. It was in the beginning, it's 30, 40 years ago. It was a genre who made Aliyah. And even though it was written in Hebrew, you felt that the plot and the heroes and the characters, I don't know, they're not talking the Israeli language. It's not the thriller that can happen in the streets of Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. But 20, 30 years ago, I believe that the genre was born. It was the first generation of thrillers that were born here in Israel.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I believe. And I want to say that some of your books, or maybe all of your books, helped this process. Helped the process of creating the Israeli detective, the Israeli hero who solves the problems. But they're doing it in a native way. If I'm clear what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in the beginning, the thrillers and all those kind of books. In the beginning, they were in the side shelves in Israel. I don't know why. It was the Israeli-Arab conflict. It was the IDF. It was the Holocaust. It wasn't like a thing that you read.
Interesting.
For me as a child, I remember that was the main thing. I was waiting for those books, and now it's one of the most popular genre in Israel.
So, and this sort of all developed around 20 or 30 years ago.
30, let's say 30. Of course, there was,
There were thrillers.
there were books before, but as a genre, like when you see that so many good writers, they want to explore this genre. They want to try and write in this genre, and they stay in this genre.
Yeah.
So why am I telling you this? So I spoke with, I hosted some of them here, and I always asked them about the database, about the back office of the plot. Because not like any other genre, here you have to be accurate, precise. It's like the execution is different, is in different level. I can tell you that there's one writer who even showed me minute by minute the architecture of his book before he writes the book, minute by minute. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wanted to, if you want to elaborate a little bit about how you build the structure of the book. Do you know everything before you write?
Well, okay. Let me talk about the Oligarch's Daughter.
Yeah.
And how that came together. That actually started as a novel I wanted to write about an ordinary person who is forced to disappear, to disappear to a small town, live under a false identity. And could you do that in today's world? That was the initial idea. And so I started outlining, and I thought, so why did this guy, who is he, and why did he have to disappear?
But you did it in a fascinating way. You had two timelines, and that's a crazy, to me as a writer, John. How did he, did he plan that all the way, or did it happen by, through the writing?
Mm-hmm. No, I decided that I needed to do two timelines, a past and a present. And the past would explain how he got there. And the present would explain how he was almost caught and why. So the thing about writing a two timelines in a novel is you've got to do a lot of engineering.
And also reverse engineering.
And reverse engineering, that's right. And you've got to make sure that when you do a chapter that's set in the past and the next chapter is set in the present, that there's a relationship between the two.
I'm thinking about the editing is poof.
And that, and the one explains the next one, helps to clarify the next one. So I had to do an outline, a pretty complex outline that had the past and the present and the past and the present and have them all relate.
I want our audience to understand when Joseph is saying I had to do a timeline, he's literally, if I'm explaining you correctly, you literally created the timeline on a board or whatever, Excel sheets or whatever, to understand how the structure of the book is going to go from one timeline to another timeline.
Right. That's right. That's right. So once I figured out how the whole thing would end, then I started to write it. And the thing is, so, there's this big controversy in the mystery and thriller world about whether you outline or not. Because there are a lot of writers who do not believe in outlines. They just start writing and it develops. And I don't think you can do a good thriller without doing some kind of an outline.
Of course.
In advance.
No, even if you write without planning, like everything from the beginning, at least somewhere in the middle, you have to see if you have a plot. If the story goes somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I tried writing one book. I had sort of an argument with the best-selling writer named Lee Child, who writes the Jack Reacher books. Mm-hmm. We're friends, and he said, I don't do any outlines at all. I just sort of start writing, and every day I don't know what's going to happen, and
I find it hard to believe,
Well, I do too, and I think that on some level he knows the outline in his head. Anyway, so I decided to try to write a novel without an outline, and it took me months longer than it should have. And I ended up cutting out all kinds of things. So I realized it was more efficient to do some kind of an outline. But I allow myself to diverge from the outline as I'm writing. Often while I'm writing, I have a better idea.
Yeah, writing is a process that, you write through your writing,
Mm-hmm.
This is the idea, but again, I think that the structure is, listen, we're asking from the readers, one of the most important things from our readers. We ask them, give me your time.
Yep.
Give me your time.
Yep.
So you cannot just, ask someone you're not even borrowing his time. You're asking him for his time. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
That's right. And you've got to grab their attention and not lose it.
I think you're doing it. You're doing it in your books from the beginning. Wow, in a very unique way, from the start. Usually you see it in action movies, from the beginning. It's like when you watch a movie, from what I read, it's like from the beginning, you can't stop. You're holding the book and you can't stop. From the beginning, from the first sentence.
Thank you. That's what I try to do.
Yeah, listen, it's I often think that the beginning is what hold the attention of the reader.
Yeah.
And let him in this journey.
Yeah.
At the end, and the end of the book is what he's taking with him.
The end is very important. You've really got to have a good ending. And because that's what you walk away from. You know, when you see a movie and it ends badly, you hate the whole thing. Say, oh, that movie sucked, you know? But if it ends well, you go, oh yeah, I love that.
Listen, I'll be a little bit philosophical, but at the end of the day, you know, Joseph is a human being, is an individual, is a brother, is a father, is a son. But the only time that he exists as a writer is in the reader's heart. The moment that he reads his book or she reads his book.
Mm-hmm.
So the end of the book is the part that will always, I know it's a little bit philosophical, but it's the part that will always stay in his heart.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. So that's why I don't start writing until I know the ending.
That's a new thing. So you know the end, and this is where you start to write. You already have the, let's say, so you have the end exactly how it's supposed to be, or you have the idea of the end of the story.
More like I have the idea of the ending, and I feel free to change it if I have a better idea.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do while I'm writing. I just sort of think, no, you know what would be cool is if I went this way instead of that way.
Yeah.
And I'll do it. I'll let myself do it, of course.
It's like hesitate. I call it, sometimes it's like going to the hesitating. How would you say it? Like hesitating. Let's say the hero needs to do that. I'm not going to do the opposite, but I'll take it to another. Let's see what happened to the story.
Right. Yeah. And usually while I'm writing, I sort of think to myself very often, what does the reader expect to happen next? I'll do the opposite.
And why that is
to be a surprise, to be surprising.
And how does it work for you as an author, as a writer? I mean, does it, you know, you already wrote so many books, so you need this process also to yourself to be able to, you know, to create new adventures, new plots that you haven't written so far or something like that? Or you're saying, you know what, this is a technique that works for me?
Well, my feeling is that people who read thrillers tend to be smarter, tend to have read a lot of other thrillers.
Not only that, they
Okay.
check you. They're gonna check if you're correct or if you're not.
Yep.
Or if you didn't do your research well.
Yep.
And nowadays it's a pain in the ass. Sorry for my
Yeah.
because today they're gonna check you, they Google you. You know, they Google everything. And
Yep.
when you control someone's subconscious with your writing, and suddenly something that doesn't work with the continuity, or something doesn't work with the specific part that you said. For example, there was something in Russia that you were right. You wrote that was existing. It exists in whatever in the 70s, and in the 70s it wasn't even there yet. For example,
Mhm.
the readers nowadays, they're gonna check. They're gonna be, they're gonna be very severe with you.
That's right. That's right. And readers of thrillers sort of have expectations, and
Especially from you, from someone who wrote so many books and series of books. Sorry.
and they can predict what's going to happen. And so I want to mess with that. I want to sort of fool them.
You know, where it takes me back to your younger brother with your first story.
That's right. With the house made of hair.
Of course.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me. Even the biggest writers in the world, at the end of the day, they need a reflection to something deep inside. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Even if it's thriller, you're talking to me, you're telling me about your audience, your readers, but I hear your younger brother screaming in the other room.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you were saying you're doing the opposite. You were saying you're doing you think.
So I will do the opposite. I will sort of look at what they're predicting. I'll think about what readers are predicting and do the opposite.
Wow. And when you write this timeline, especially in the oligarch's daughter, which is two different timelines, that was complicated. Even I when I read a book, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know. I call it. I read it while I'm awake. You know what I'm trying to say? Not awake, not sleeping. But I'm reading the book and I'm thinking, how did he do it? How did he do it? How did he create those two different timelines? How did he manage to stay on, even in your real life, any book that you write is gonna mess a little bit with your reality. You need to dive into the writing. But especially in this kind of writing, it can be a little bit, hard on your mind, to create this dimension.
Yeah, I suppose that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And
See that?
and what do you do when it happens, if it happens?
I think of novel writing as being like how stories were born so people would sit around a fire, thousands of years ago, and there'd be one person who would tell a story. And very often it was a story about something that happened to him or might have happened to him. And this is sort of how fiction evolved.
Yeah.
Someone made it up. And the purpose of these fictional stories back in the day was to warn the others about the beasts that are out there and how you could get hurt.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with real fears in people's subconscious.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a powerful thriller.
And it's also about it's not only about what you write, it's about what you're not writing and what's the gap that you create consciously so that your reader can complete the story in his mind, in his imagination.
That's right. That's right.
And I think in thriller, it's even more, it has to be more accurate. You have no space for mistakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're making something up, but it's got to be plausible.
Yeah.
And if you're using facts, the facts have to be right.
It's fascinating to me to, I talk with with an established author, writer. It's interesting to me to know in what point you realized that, hey, I'm a writer. That's what I do. You looked at the mirror and you said to yourself, Joseph, you're a writer.
Yeah. I think that did not start for me until I wrote my first novel. The nonfiction book, I could have been a journalist, but when I wrote the first book, when I wrote The Moscow Club, that was when I knew I was a writer. And it's this is what I'd wanted to do since I was 8 years old.
So you didn't even needed the recognition, let's say. You knew it from within.
Right. I did not need the outside world to tell me I was a writer. I knew I was a writer.
Wow. And when you're traveling nowadays to the different countries that your books are being published, how is it? How do you feel when you're communicating with the audiences from all around? It's not only American or English readers.
Yeah. It's pretty great because it's very flattering to sort of discover readers in other countries, in the Netherlands or in Finland or whatever.
Even in Israel, you have a pretty big community who reads your books.
Really? Is that right?
Yeah. I know. I feel, relatively to Israel, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I never thought about being published in all these other countries, but it's pretty great. When I write a novel and I send it off, it's going to be published in 25, 30.
And you're not afraid about, let's say, maybe the translator is going to make some mistakes. Maybe it's not going to be, the idea is not going to be the same. What? How do you feel about that?
Well, you have no control over that. You've just got to hope that the publisher has picked a good translator. And I've gotten emails from readers who say, this translation was no good. And here's why. Let me give you an example. I read it and I just sort of think, yeah, you're right, but what could I do? No?
Yeah.
I don't speak Finnish, so you got to hope that the translation's good. And a good translation is difficult.
Of course, you have to be a writer in both languages.
You do. Right.
Unfortunately for you, you're in general, and unfortunately, is that you're writing in English, so more common that you won't understand the other languages. For us, from all around the world, at least in English, you can at least be aware of, oh, listen, this is a mistake. Don't translate this word like that, this sentence like that.
Yeah.
You need to think about it. But
yeah,
on the other hand, listen, 25 languages, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot. So I'll try to go through, listen, we cannot go through all your books, but I'll go through some of your books, and some of them even, turn into a film.
Yeah. And The Oligarch's Daughter is being developed as a TV series.
Wow. Netflix?
We don't know which platform yet.
And you are involved in the screenplay and
I'm not. No, the person who's writing the screenplay is a guy named Robert King, who created a TV show called The Good Wife, and he's very, very good.
Yeah.
So my fingers are crossed, but I think he's going to do a very good job.
By the way, what do you think about this way of storytelling, like from the strings and everything?
I think I love watching a good TV show or a good movie. I sort of feel like writing a novel is where my heart really is. Because you're creating the whole world, and you can use scenes and language and all kinds of things that will never appear in the movie or TV series.
And if they will appear, it will be for 1 second.
Yeah. They just they have to cut things out. You take a book that's 400 pages long and you boil it down to a screenplay that's 100 pages long.
Yes, of course.
Cutting out a lot of characters and a lot of nuance.
And also in a novel, you kind of leave any option to the reader's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
All the options are open. Sometimes you see a movie that you read the book before, and then you go and see the movie and say, I didn't imagine it like that.
Yeah.
My imagination, it wasn't like that at all.
Yeah, that's right. That's one of the things that's great about reading, is that there's a different kind of muscle. You are casting it in your mind. You've got the actors in your mind, and your imagination is doing the work. So that's what I love about reading a good novel, is that it just fires up the imagination.
What I'm trying to say to all my, let's say, colleagues here in Israel is that, listen, I still believe that reading is the best, I don't want to say entertainment, but it's the best art or the best way to, spend your time with.
Yeah.
Even if even if the younger generation don't read a lot, or they're in the, social media or whatever. At the end of the day, they want to read. Just maybe some of it they don't even know that they want to read.
But they will eventually discover books.
So it's part of it is our job.
That's right. That's right.
To communicate.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to Israel?
I have a couple of times. In fact, I lived on a kibbutz.
Wow. Which one?
called Tell Yosef.
Tell Yosef. How long ago?
Oh, when I was 16 or 17.
I was like a volunteer or something like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
For how long?
I love Israel. I love Israel.
Israel is I also love Israel. Listen, I know I'm biased, but I love Israel.
Yeah.
It's a Jewish metropolitan, you know.
I have to say, I know we're not talking politics here, but it is difficult these days in the United States because there is so much anti-Semitism and anti-Israeli feeling because of the war.
I believe it's the same hate that it's just changing its structure, but it's the same old hate. I don't want to talk about it right now because I want to, bring the books into
Right.
main stage. And I want to talk about Joseph as an individual, as a human being. So you've been to Israel. You're gonna visit soon. You have any plans to visit soon? Sometime soon?
When I finish the next book, I'd love to visit Israel again. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to, in a little bit to summarize what we've accomplished in this conversation. So we understood that Joseph as a writer, he plans. He doesn't just write, go and see what happened. He has a structure. He has a timeline. He thinks about all the details, but he doesn't start writing before he has the end. At least the end.
Exactly.
His characters are ordinary people on regular life that needs to deal with reality, the harsh reality that comes into their lives.
Right.
Am I right? With my
It's right.
and from book to book, from a novel to a novel, you challenge yourself even with the plot itself and creating the chain of events that the readers won't anticipate what's gonna happen, even though you have 18 books. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
Listen, Joseph, I can talk with a writer for like 6-7 hours on everything, on anything. First of all, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I want to ask you, before we're doing the last L'chaim, what do you wish for yourself, as Joseph?
For myself?
Yeah, for yourself.
That's a tough question. I want to keep loving writing. I want to keep being fresh as a writer and being excited by it. My fear when I started to write was that after I'd written a bunch of books, I would they'd become rote to me, and I would sort of just do the same thing over and over and over again. I wish for myself that I don't do that every book feels fresh and original.
You know what I wish for you? As a writer, I wish you that any book, all the books that you're gonna write will be written like the first book that you wrote to your brother.
Yeah.
That's
correct. Yeah.
Joseph, I want to thank you for your time, and L'chaim for this conversation.
Chaim.
Cheers.
Great talking with you.
Toda rabba. Thank you.
Toda rabba.